Hey guys, we're going to go over disassembling and assembling Skidoo clutch. This is off of Formula 500. So here we are. I've already got it disassembled. Here, I'll get the last piece. But normally you would see it together like this, looking something like that, and then placed onto here. Okay, so when you want to disassemble this again and take this back plate off, you thread your puller in. Thread it in just about halfway. Then you can take a hammer, when you're holding it like that, it'll just pop this back plate off. As you can see, it's got a tapered end here, and on the bottom here, it comes from right here. So that's how it fits together in like that, and then you just knock it off with your puller once the clutch is off the snowmobile. So I've cleaned all these parts up. I've cleaned the face. I've just used some brake cleaner, and I've cleaned as best I can inside of here. So I've also done the same to this with some brake cleaner, cleaned it up. Cleaned inside of here also. I've cleaned the ends of these weights. I'm still going to do it a little better than that. And one of my main problems on this was this rubber piece came off of here. Factory, they're just glued on, and I just used some JB weld. I'm going to try it out, see if it holds. I've glued that back on, so it seems pretty solid now. So we'll try that out anyway. So we have here, these are the rollers. I've cleaned them up a bit too. Just make sure that there's not too much play back and forth in them like this. They wear out over time. These ones are still not too bad. So, I'll slowly start putting it back together since I didn't get a chance to record it when I was taking it apart. Okay, these weird bolts right here are your weight adjusters. So when you have a clutch in the machine, you can just loosen the nut on the end here and be able to pop this out and adjust it according to your riding style. So I'm just going to remount these back in since I took them out and cleaned them. This little washer here actually fits inside, and then the bolt pushes through to the other side, and you thread this end washer on, or this end nut on. I'm just using a flathead to push the washer in place, and then feed this bolt through the washer. Now we've got it on the other side. I'm just going to put the nut on. If you're having trouble putting this bolt in, you can flex the weight out a bit with a screwdriver, and it will just pop in. So I've got all the weight adjusters back in, as you can see. I'll put them in the right position. I have it right here, was stock for me, so I'll do that when I go to tighten them up. Okay, so I'm just going to put these rollers back on. I've sprayed this bolt down with a bit of glue, and I feed it through the hole here, and I just slowly push it in, and then it hits the nut, which is sitting right there in a little part of the clutch plate. I'll get my Allen key. I'll just thread that in a bit. Okay, that one's in. I'm going to just quickly do the next one. Last one. This one, the nut came out of its little seating place down there. So I'm going to just put it back. Oops, dropped it. are. It's in place. Soak this down. Perfect. Very nice. Okay guys, so I'm just getting the last roller tightened on here. I'm just using some vice grips because I only have a small Allen key to get it really nice and snug. So we don't want those coming off when we're riding. So there we are. So the last part is placing this back on. You'll notice there's an arrow right here, and there's also an arrow on this clutch plate here. It's very small, it's right there. So we have to make sure to line this arrow up with the arrow on the clutch plate. Okay, and this might be a little tricky. There's these little black rubber seats here, and they have a small black rubber washer that fits around them. And then on one side there's a spring, and it fits on the larger hole, and it sits right in there, just like that. Okay, so we'll hold that side in. I'll grab another one. Now the other side with the smaller hole doesn't have a spring. You just but again, you put the little black seal or washer onto the rubber seat and fit it in there. There, it just pops in. Okay, you turn these rubber seats so the line's vertical, and you have to kind of squeeze it into these sections here. So I recommend putting the spring side in first. Like this. Come on. Okay. So just fit that in snugly first, just near the top. Just gonna grab this bolt to hold that up for now. Okay guys, so I'm on the last one. I'm putting the rubber seats in. I had to use a pair of vice grips, the last one, to hold this side in while I put the spring side in. So just maybe a hint. So I'm going to set it down now. Okay, so they're all in, and it goes right down onto the where the rollers are mounted. Just like that. I just like to spray just a little bit of lubricant just to kind of sit on those walls so that this can slide back and forth easier when you're riding. Okay, good. So now, just before I put everything back together, I'm going to clean this clutch surface one more time, since greasy fingers and stuff were on it and we're spraying the lubricant around. Just going to clean it off nice and shiny. I'm going to set this in. There we are. Squeeze it together, and it should go into place like that. There we are, it's back together. Okay, so I'm going to set these weight adjusters back to stock where they were. They were set on 3 before. Set them back on 3. So you just my 10mm wrench to tighten it up. Tighten it up nice and snug. Not too much. So as you can see, line's now on number 3 there. I thought it was okay, so I'll do the next one. It's just flexing that weight forward a bit so that you get a more aggressive grab onto your belt. Okay, so I've got everything tightened up, everything set on number 3 here for my specific sled, the way it was set up, stock. So yeah, that's about it. If you're worried about this part not being pressed into here enough, don't worry. When you put in the bolt back in, it'll pull everything back together nice and tight. Okay, and that's about it. That's how to disassemble and assemble one of these Skidoo clutches.